welcome back to the Cycle Starters podcast. I'm your host, Heather Rebecca Wilson, and today I am so thrilled to welcome Vanessa Benlolo, an international soul speak guide with over 8 years of experience supporting people on their soul's evolutionary journey. Vanessa comes to us with a truly global perspective. She grew up in Aruba with ancestry spanning Venezuela, Morocco, Tunisia, and Sephardic Jewish traditions. English is actually her fourth language, which speaks to her rich multicultural background. As the founder of Soul Speak Sessions and Integrative Sacred Union Sessions, Vanessa has dedicated over 10,000 hours to supporting men and women through generational healing, helping them release limiting beliefs, transform familial conditioning, and embrace their spiritual gifts. Her extensive training includes certifications in generational healing, soul parent, spiritual child evolutionary education, integrated attachment theory, somatic energy healing, and ancestral spiritual guidance. Today, we'll dive into Vanessa's personal journey with ancestral healing, the patterns she's breaking in her own lineage, and how her diverse background informs her unique approach to helping others connect with their divine essence. So before we jump into today's conversation, I have a favor to ask. If you are enjoying the content that we are creating here on the Cycle Starters podcast, please like, subscribe, share. It really helps the algorithm get our episodes in front of more people. So thank you in advance for that. And so without further ado, please join me in welcoming Vanessa to the Cycle Starters podcast. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for such a beautiful, in-depth introduction. I really appreciate the time you took to kind of curate that and share that. And it's a real pleasure to be here with you today and to connect with your audience as well.
My goodness, Vanessa, I am so excited for this conversation. And I'm so grateful, like I said earlier, to our mutual friend Claudia for putting us in contact. So this is going to be so juicy, juicy, juicy. You have a lot of experience, in terms of supporting clients with generational healing, ancestral healing. So I know this is going to be a fabulous and enlightening conversation for our community, for our viewers. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, like I said, when Claudia connected us, I just was immediate yes. And when we first spoke too, I just love the synchronicities and the connection of interest that we both have. And so I'm just really looking forward to our conversation and see what we co-create
I
here today.
know. I know. It's going to be great. All right. Well, so let's just start with your ancestry. And I was going to say, let's start with our basic ancestral background. But you, like me, are multicultural. You are multiracial. Tell us about your blood ancestry.
Yeah, so I've always said I'm a global citizen. And when I took the 23andMe test to look at my ancestry, it really kind of lit up all different parts of the world. But I would say I'm born in Aruba. My mother was born in Curacao. It's the island next door. These are the Dutch Caribbean or the Dutch Antilles as they were known before. So there's a lot of intermixed ancestry there. And on my mom's side, there's also Venezuelan ancestry and there's some indigenous ancestry, I believe, that also comes from that side. And then on my dad's side, my dad's born in Morocco, raised in France. He was a Sephardic Jew. So his father was born in Melilla, which is the Spanish walled off city of Morocco. And so there's a lot of Spanish, Sephardic, Jewish ancestry. And then my grandmother on that side, it's kind of like all North African. And of course, I think the reason why there's even more than that in my ancestry is just because a lot of my ancestry, they've moved, they've lived in different places, they haven't stayed where they were born, just like myself. And so I think myself comes from a line of people who kind of push the envelope and kind of explore new places and move and live in different places in their lives. And I think that's what's created this kind of melting pot that has created me or which the ancestry which I've chosen to come through. And I think also ancestry is an interesting thing. I think we choose our ancestral lineage, for the gifts and the traumas, but also I think for what our ancestry allows us to do and be. I really believe I chose this lineage to come into. I think it really positions me well to kind of relate to almost anyone, and to be able to kind of be free in that way, even though it led to a lot of not really knowing how to identify when I was younger. But I think now it's something I really embrace that makes it very easy to connect with everyone. And I really love that about it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that. And I already know that is going to be a clip from this episode. Yeah, that was beautiful. And I feel similarly, coming from a multiracial background and being able to be in all sorts of situations, just being able to float between groups. I feel like I'm like a bridge between communities, ethnicities, nations, languages, but you more so than I because I only speak English and I understand a little bit of Tagalog and Visayan, which is my mom's native tongue, but you
Mhm.
speak four languages, which is just so impressive and very, very cool. So, all right, I want to know, when did this concept of ancestral healing enter your consciousness? When did you realize, oh, things can be passed down from generation to generation? And then also, when did you realize, aha, I have the power to start my own cycles, right? I have the power to shift things. So basically, I think some people can get stuck in a victimization mode and facing backwards, like stuck in a trauma loop. And so, what I try to do on this show and in my work is really support and empower people to face forward and get in their power and decide, what do I want to create? What do I want to manifest in my life that will impact future generations, right? All of my descendants going forward. So, tell me about, your introduction into this whole realm.
Mhm. I think because of the way that you asked it, I'm probably going to jump around a little bit
It's okay.
throughout my life because I love the way you asked it. Because I heard in that such beautiful questions around where did you kind of understand that things are passed down and inherited. So heard the question of like, where did you come to know of like ancestral healing? And in the way that I know it, it's different than when I first kind of became aware of when am I capable of breaking cycles. So I think I'm going to start with, funny enough, when did I think I'd be capable of breaking cycles? Because I think I came into this life very much knowing that I was going to do things differently. And the first thing that comes to mind is, where did I know I was going to come here and want things to be different than they were, and to shift things? Funny enough is, like, when I was younger, my mom would smoke socially. And not that I was going to be somebody who ever smoked, and I never did, but I think it was just an inherent knowing that this is something that I don't want around me. So I feel like the first inklings were of feeling very clear in the kind of life and environment I wanted to be in. I think that would have been those first feelings of, I want to experience life a specific way. But when did I know things are inherited? I was really fascinated by genetics. I studied biological engineering in the end, and it came from this fascination at 13 years old of, is it nurture or nature? Is it our genetics? Is the way we live and experience things just passed down to us genetically through the bloodline, through the ancestry? Is it our environment? I was kind of asking these questions around the way we live and experience life. Is that kind of predestined? Is that, what is that? What influences that? And I think that was before I knew that we can actually break ancestral cycles like the way we speak about it now. But when I came aware of ancestral healing was much later, in the way that I facilitate generational healing now, which is an energy technique where we heal trauma that we carry forward from our ancestors. I went to an event actually where the mentor that I had that taught me this energy technique was present facilitating um, a generational healing session. I'd never seen anything like it before. She was working above and around the person in their etheric field. And I honestly had no words for what I had seen, and was just so fascinated by it. And funny enough, that day when I went to that event that was in the evening, I was already in my late 20s. And I had posted an essay I'd written to get into universities or college if you're in the US, when I was 18. And it was about breaking a cycle of, my mom's a single mom. I was the oldest of four kids. So when I left for university, I really felt like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving my siblings. Are they going to be okay without me? And this essay was called Metamorphosis. And it was about this journey of this young girl myself who felt scared to leave to go to university because I was leaving my siblings and coming to the awareness that I didn't have to be their parent or what I know now the parentified child. And instead, I could just be their sibling. And I had posted this on Facebook that afternoon. It was kind of a blurry picture. So you couldn't read it too well, but it was this essay. It was a picture of the essay. I'd posted it weirdly. I'd gone to this event where my mentor was facilitating this healing. And throughout that about hour and a half, I was there. My mom called 40 times saying, please take down this essay. It is shameful to our family, and that she felt embarrassed. Yes. And so there was just a lot of shame around that when she couldn't really see that it was my own journey, and that it was actually, I thought the essay was really beautiful in my transformation of that experience of being the parentified child to realizing I can just be the sibling for once. And while I was there at that demonstration, my mentor then shared that she was taking apprentices. And then later on, I had a dream that made it very clear that I needed to do this apprenticeship training. I didn't even think I was going to use it professionally, to be honest. I just was like, I need to heal my family lineage. There's clearly a lot of shame present, and there's a lot of other things present too. But at the time, I was just extremely hyper aware of the shame that was present and how I wanted to end those cycles within my family and have my children, if I were to have them, live more free to be authentic to who they are outside of a parent's shame. And that's kind of what really tipped the scales. And before it was just like a curiosity and a knowing of wanting things to be different. This was a moment where I'd already done lots of therapy by that time, more than over a decade of therapy at that point. But this was really a pivotal point in which I chose to even be more deeply responsible for the generational trauma that's within my own lineage.
My goodness, Vanessa, this is so powerful, what you just said. I think so many people are going to feel very seen by you sharing this story. So thank you. What other patterns do you feel like you're breaking in this incarnation? I know you mentioned the shame, which is huge. I mean, are there any others you feel like you're also breaking?
Absolutely. I mean, shame is a big one. Also, like when I was conceived, my parents were married, so there was a lot of shame around that. They were of mixed religion, so there was a lot of shame there. So definitely shame is a big one, and I don't feel that as much as present in my own life anymore. That's one. The other one is being, like I said, the parentified child. My maternal grandmother died in childbirth when my grandmother was 2 years old. So she very much grew up being very responsible for other siblings. That's a pattern for sure that's been breaking. The other one is being seen for this type of work. My family is very intuitive, both my mother and my grandmother, but none of them chose to kind of embrace this and do this work for a living like I do. I've been doing this actually for 10 years. I know my bio said 8 plus, but it'll be 10 years in a few months. And to be able to step into a space where I choose to do what I came here to do, my soul's purpose and my soul's mission, I think is also breaking a cycle. And my grandmother was someone who, when she was younger, was told that she was meant to be a spiritual guide, but she never took that on as her career. And so that's breaking. And I feel like a big one too is being able to allow myself to receive help. I think probably that's the biggest one. Yeah, one of the biggest ones that I'm still working through it at different levels, even within my own business, to allow others to support, to receive help in those ways. And I think I come from a line of very strong women who are used to doing things for themselves on their own. And I think a big thing that's asking to heal and to be shifted is this receiving help and being able to walk in life with someone versus on our own.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So cool. All right. So you mentioned in answering this kind of convoluted question that I asked you that your family is very psychic and intuitive. And I think in our conversation before we did the podcast, you talked about how you would gather around the table and there would be a competition around, well, I knew this person was going to pass, then because they came to my dream, la, la, la. Can you tell me a little bit about growing up in this environment and also how that impacted you in terms of becoming this amazing soul guide that you are now and living out loud as this multidimensional healer, psychic, and intuitive.
Of course, thank you for asking that and remembering, yeah, what it was like for me growing up when I shared. Growing up, I think being in an environment where intuition was spoken about made it something that was more acceptable and allowed to be pursued. My mom would take me to tarot card readings when I was younger. If I had an exam that I was specifically worried about or something, she would make what I call these goddess baths, but basically they're like energy clearings or good luck baths. And she would cook different things. Some of them would have apples and cinnamon and honey. They were very sticky, by the way, very like flowery smelling. So you were supposed to like shower and pour this thing, which was cold by the time it had been cooked and cooled down. She would like put it in the moonlight and then you like pour all over your head and like your body. And this was like intended to energetically prepare you to do well at school or in exams. So that's kind of what it was like growing up with my mom because my dad wasn't really there when I was growing up. They actually split when I was just under two. And so it was mainly my mom that's creating this environment and this experience. She wasn't someone that was very good at sitting down and making sure you did your homework. She never checked on it or anything like that. My grandmother was more that person. She was much more tangible in that way, but very intuitive too. She had an ancestor's altar and her way of supporting you. Let's say you were going to do something important or big that day was like, okay, I'm going to light a candle for Archangel Michael, or I'm going to light a candle for your great grandmother. They're going to like help you. And, or if you were flying, they were like, okay, we're going to light a candle on the ancestor's altar and you're going to be safe and protected. And so there was always this understanding that there's something greater than just us supporting us. And so you grow up with this feeling of no matter how bad things are, and it was definitely challenging growing up, is that there was always this invisible ancestral lineage kind of just having your back wherever you went. And so I just kind of grew up feeling like that part was normal. And I think when you feel like it's normal, you can talk about it. You don't have to hide. You don't have to feel like you're the only one thinking about these things or having these experiences. You can like actually have a dialogue with your own family. And I think that openness can allow for a lot more exploration and safety actually in pursuing something like that I have pursued, right? And making this my career. But that's not to say I didn't get any. Don't you think it's better if you do engineering? I don't want to paint this picture of this, like, because sometimes when you grow up in a not intuitive home, you can hear my story and think, oh, whoa, I wish I really had that. I wish it was like that for me. But I rest you assured that there was also lots of trauma and abuse and all that too. But intuition was kind of a saving grace of what was present and what allowed an open space to explore this path for myself.
Amazing. All right. Well, I think I want to start talking some astrology now
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
had so much fun looking at your chart. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, to my work, I am an ancestral healing guide and, DEI practitioner, trainer, and I have a monthly membership. It's called the Ancestral Healing Collective, and it is a sacred space that I've created for female bodied cycle breakers and cycle starters to alchemize these deep ancestral wounds into creative potential, shifts to higher consciousness, embodied joy, and spiritual gifts with pleasure and astrology as transformative medicine. So, the way that I relate to astrology is really like it's a tool and not the rule. So, for me, it's a language and a framework for understanding oneself, but also empowering oneself as an energetic being on an ancestral healing journey. And the pleasure is part of this too, because the pleasure really is the fuel that sustains you along this journey. Because there is some trauma healing involved with ancestral healing, and it's important to balance those things out, right? And I think part of what I'm doing in this life is reclaiming joy and happiness and love and more pleasure, right? And not feeling like I have to ask permission to receive pleasure from anybody. So that's just a little background. And so astrology is part of my ancestral healing practice. And I love looking at people's charts. It's my favorite thing to do, actually. And so, would you please share your sun, moon, and rising signs with our community? I know you know them.
Yes, absolutely. I want to say I'm so excited, by the way, for you to do this just because I love astrology. And of course, I love ancestral and generational healing, but putting the two together is just new and exciting. And I can't wait to hear what you say. So, my sun is Scorpio, my moon is Aquarius, and my rising is Aries.
Right. Well, so those are the big three. Those really make up the vast majority of your energetic signature. That's what people feel. They especially feel your rising sign, actually. So your sun sign is where the sun was the day that you were born, and it speaks to your creative energy. It's the special sauce that you mix into everything that you do that makes you stand out from the 11 other astrological signs. And each sign is a spectrum of psycho spiritual energy with a high expression and a low expression. So the sun is interesting insofar as it's your egoic self, it's how you see yourself, whereas the rising sign, which is specific to the time that you take your first breath, your rising sign is your perception of reality. It's the energies that people pick up on when they first meet you. So sometimes the rising sign qualities are in the shadow because we're not conscious of like how we come across and how we do things. So your sun is in Scorpio, so you're shining in this very scorpionic way. And then also looking at your chart, you have a Scorpio stellium. You like this is an area of focus for you, right? Deep transformation, death and rebirth and esoterica. So Scorpio's very sexy. All of the water signs are extremely psychic and intuitive. And because you have this Scorpio stellium, you are uber psychic and intuitive. And the archetypal energy that I associate with the Scorpio energy is the attentive detective. So basically, it's like you were born with a PhD in psychology. So your BS meter is like you can pick up on somebody, lying to you, keeping secrets. You pick up on that really quickly, and that really bothers you too. I think that you want to be told the truth. And I always share this story to illustrate this, but basically, if somebody with a big scorpionic presence in their chart smells something funky in their kitchen, they will put on a hazmat suit and tear up the floorboards and go down there with a flashlight and a mask and get to the bottom of it. What is that? I need to find
Yeah.
out. And not everybody is willing to go that deep. That's the thing, right? And so it can be frustrating for somebody with a big Scorpio presence in their chart to deal with other people who aren't as willing to go as deep as you are. That's your special sauce. It's your superpower. So I think Scorpio in its highest expression is deep emotional sensitivity balanced with logic. Scorpio is fixed water. Water is our emotions, our sentiments, our feelings. And so you feel things very, very deeply. And I think the unevolved Scorpio is that scorpion with, the tail that will sting people right out of protection. Like, I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me, right? That's like unhealed scorpionic energy. I don't get that from you at all. I mean, I just met you. I think you've done like obviously a lot of healing work. Um, but yeah, Scorpio is so interesting. And I have so many Scorpio friends because there is no subject that is like too taboo, right? We can
It's
talk
true.
about anything. Every topic is on the table and we can laugh about the darkest things, but then come back.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that. I kind of have a dark sense of humor, so I really appreciate that about my Scorpio friends.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so
I do.
you're
I feel everything you're saying. Like, I always say, like, my life's journey has been about finding the truth of our existence. So
There you
when you
go.
said like Scorpio is like the one that's like seeking the truth and like going into the floorboards, like that is for sure me. And yeah, I don't really enjoy not deep conversations, which I think is why I've created a whole career out of needing to go deeply with everyone. And my clients often share too that they can kind of say anything and I'm not going to be, honestly, I've also heard all of it, but I'm not going to be phased. There's not going to be any judgment. And I think that creates a safe space too, right? So
Yes.
yeah, I guess it's good to have come in with that Scorpio placement there.
Yes. So much Scorpio. I mean, Sun in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio. So this is what you think about and talk about automatically. This is how your
Mhm.
mind works.
Yes.
What else is in Scorpio? I mean, your Saturn is in Scorpio. I
Saturn's
mean,
intense though, because Saturn's kind of a taskmaster planet. It's like double check. It's kind of like hard on us sometimes, but it's because it's trying to create a really solid foundation. And then
yes.
having Scorpio in there, I don't know if that's like, when you talked about the death and rebirth, kind of like breaking down of things that are not working and reinventing. I have definitely had multiple of those experiences in this life. I always joke around like, did I just sign up for like the VIP package? So I could just
Yeah,
have
you
any
did.
experience in this life.
You did. You signed up for this 100%. And your Pluto's in Scorpio, and Pluto is the destroyer, right? Like destroy in order to be reborn. But you're right about, Saturn being the big daddy taskmaster. He puts you through your paces so that you can be masterful,
Of
so that
course.
you can
Yes.
be an expert on the other side. And Saturn will reward you once you've lived up to your
Mhm.
responsibilities. But all that scorpionic energy, it's so intense, right? It's
Yeah.
a lot of intensity. You signed up for a very intense life. There's just no way around it. It's just in my face right there. Um okay, so your your moon is in Aquarius. Okay, so this is a totally different energy. Fixed. Scorpio is fixed water. Aquarius is fixed air. Air is our thoughts, our consciousness, our beliefs, ideas, communication. And Aquarius, just like that archetypal energy, is the visionary. It's the rebel genius. It's very much future oriented. Aquarius does not want to conform. That is like death to the Aquarian. They're like I would rather
I have
die.
literally said these things to people. I remember I worked at a company once where it had like a specific name, which I won't say right now, but I loved working there too and the people there. But I was like, hey, don't become like you're working there because it just was this mediocrity. Just don't get kind of converted into this thing where you just keep going and just be like everything else. And so it's very much, yeah, it's very much that, right? It's going against the grain and with the Soul Guiding Institute, right, that I'm creating, it's all about that futuristic aspect, all about humanitarian, human evolution, and how do we support that. So that's kind of, I think, where that Aquarius is coming out or coming
Totally.
from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And put a pin in that because I do want
Okay, I
you to
will.
share about that
Yeah.
because I love what you're doing. The moon in your natal chart, it speaks to your emotions, your emotional inheritance, also
Right.
ancestral wounds, but also the gifts that your ancestors have given you. Aquarius is also, in addition to like wanting to be avant garde, my friend's so funny. She's like, Aquarius is the secret weirdo where Gemini is like, a weirdo, like in your face. I'm weird, but Aquarius is, I'll see if I like you. Anyway, I thought that was hilarious.
I feel like that's a very accurate way to describe that. I feel like that's true. It's like are we closet weirdos? Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, you're like into, cool avant garde things. The other really cool thing about Aquarian energy, and we are, beginning this age of Aquarius, is that it invites us to really embody this idea that the collective is only as beautiful as the individuals that make up the collective. If you think of the collective as this beautiful tapestry, it's beautiful because the threads of all these amazing, unique individuals make up this tapestry. So it's a nice way to think about all of this. And honestly, this is what's happening in the world right now, right? How can we each individually express our unique traits and gifts, but also balance that with the health and the well being of the collective, right? And the collective is only healthy if we allow people to really be themselves and express. So, what this says to me about your emotional life, and throw anything back at me that does not resonate, is that your default for processing emotions is mental. You're
It
using
is.
your brain, right? You're
It is.
intellectualizing.
Yep.
I think this is actually a really good balance for you with all of the scorpionic energy, which is so watery, to have an air moon, because it also tells us what you are responsible for giving to yourself in order to feel balanced and at home and centered in your own energy. So, like, unhealed Aquarius is very cold and detached, but healed Aquarius is not. It's very much a humanitarian. Sometimes they hate
Right.
humans and love humanity. It's this
Oh
weird
my gosh.
thing. I know, but I'm curious, how do you care for your emotional life with this Aquarius moon?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said, like, I intellectualize it, which I think sometimes is hard for others around me. I am very intense in that scorpionic feeling. And like you said, I love deeply. I can't do it half, I can't do it a quarter. It's full in. But yeah, a lot of times I will actually speak to myself in voice notes. Sometimes I wish I had like someone like myself, like the way I hold space for people. So I will literally just speak into voice notes and listen to it back and integrate the pieces. And sometimes it's so strange, but maybe it's not so strange based on what you're saying, is I will actually like speak out loud. And as I'm speaking, it all of a sudden comes together, makes sense, and I know what to do. But somehow, if I don't say it out loud, I can get stuck in unprocessed aspects or not really understanding what I should do, even in my business or in other areas, until I vocalize it, basically. And so there is very much this air quality that's present. And I mean, I definitely do not hate humans. I love them and I love humanity. And I feel like what you were speaking about in terms of the individuals and the collective, it is. I feel a lot of what I'm moving towards and supporting is very much this collective awakening or this collective evolution at this time. So, yeah. And as I work through things, I think it's different than people expect of how I would process because I am so emotional. I feel deeply, and maybe they see me as the sun Scorpio, but then really internally, how I process it is intellectualized, which is strange because in this work we talk a lot about embodiment and being felt sense in the body, but it's just not the way that my being is oriented. And so for me, I need to be able to put words to it to really integrate it fully for myself.
I think that this moon in Aquarius helps you a lot with all of the
It does.
Scorpio energy. With all of the intensity, it's almost like, let me remove myself, right? Let me get out of this deep ocean with the tidal waves. Let me come out and detach a little bit to get some space from it. So I think it actually really helps you. And I know that you picked this on purpose, right? To help you.
Yes. Yes.
So you're an Aries rising. And
Right.
like I said, the rising sign is based on your time of birth. It's the sign that's rising on the eastern horizon the moment you take your first breath. And it's the vehicle for your divine mission. And Aries is totally different energy from Scorpio and Aquarius. And it's not fixed. It's cardinal. It's cardinal fire. And fire is creativity, passion, inspiration, intuition. I'm an Aries sun, so I totally relate to this energy. We're like the fearless leader and the entrepreneur. Also, Aries is very psychic. I don't think most people know that, but when you go out first ahead of everybody else, you need to be so connected to source because you don't have a roadmap. You don't have
Yep.
anybody ahead of you telling you where to go. Like, you're getting downloads, you're getting messages. Sometimes, definitely growing up as I evolved with this Aries sun, I started to look before I would leap, but as a young Aries, I was always leaping before looking. It's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to figure it out later. Tell me about your Aries rising life.
Well, based on what you're saying, I do also agree with you that Aries are very intuitive. Both my mom and my grandmother are both Aries, one day apart. And I've had lots of Aries clients that are very intuitive too. My Aries life makes me very like ambitious. It definitely is the part that lets me like take the risks and just kind of like trust. Often, if I decide to hire someone or work on a project for me as I'm building certain things out, I just kind of go on instinct. And I think that part is very much my Aries. That's just going, yes, we're going to do that with this person, or we're going to do this next. And yeah, my Aries is just very driven. I work hard. I'm very focused. And I do think I've created things before their time. But I think there's a bit of that Aquarian there that does that. But I think the actual doing of it is the Aries. The actual getting it done, I think, comes from my Aries. I think if I didn't have Aries at all, I would probably just be in the intensity and in the dreaming of how I could help humanity. But I don't know if it would actually happen or come into reality. I feel like the Aries is what lets me be able to do that.
Totally agree. I think that sometimes with the Aquarian energy, you're so damn visionary that people can't relate to the
Yeah.
visions because you are like out there, like deep space. And we're going to talk deep space in a second. And so the advice I can give to folks with a very strong Aquarian presence in their chart is just to make sure that you ground those visions in a reality that other people who aren't as visionary, they can grab onto it, right? Otherwise, they're just visions floating in the ether and in the dreamscape. So I think you're absolutely right. Aries is the go-getter. You're like, we're going. Bye. Like, I'm leaving. Like, stay here if you want, but I'm going. So yeah, I think you're totally right on. Okay. So now I want to talk a little galactic astrology. So I am training to become a quantum soul guidance practitioner, and this is a galactic astrology program. So thank you for allowing me to look at your galactic placements. This is super, super fun for me. So galactic astrology is just adding another layer to your personal planets in your natal chart. So it's really the study of how your natal chart connects to not only planets in our solar system, but to deep space objects like fixed stars, black holes, cosmic attractors, other galaxies. And so these points reveal to us memories of other lifetimes in different star systems and can show the soul level codes that you carry into this life. And so it's basically a multidimensional map of your spiritual DNA and your greater mission on Earth. So there are certain life themes that we can identify looking at a chart. There's the teacher, influencer, speaker theme that we see. We see the innovator, somebody who's an inventor. It's the inventor innovator theme. And then there's also the dense energy transmuter theme. And then there's a fourth theme, and that's the galactic ambassador. That's when you have just so many points like you have so many alignments in your chart. You're representing many different star systems and you're integrating all of that wisdom together. So you have the rare and powerful galactic ambassador frequency
Are
in your
you
chart.
joking
Yeah.
me right now?
Yeah,
I'm like,
so
oh my
I
God.
know. So this means that your soul has lived and traveled and worked across multiple star systems. And in this lifetime, you're integrating those vast experiences and you're sharing them in the service of Earth's healing, awakening, and transformation, right? So you are definitely living out your galactic mission in this lifetime, like no doubt
Yes.
in my mind. So let me tell you about what I saw. So you have very strong activations to the galactic center. So basically the Milky Way galaxy is, from what I understand, it's kind of circling around the galactic center, and then inside the galactic center is a super galactic center. And then outside of that is the great attractor, which is like a black hole that they're still trying to figure out what it is. And then the great attractor is revolving around this thing called the Shapley attractor, which they can't even explain what it is. But it just, if you think of a black hole that just draws things
Draws
to
in.
it, just magnetizes everything around it, all of these are present. You have alignments to all these in your chart. So you have activations to the galactic center, the great attractor, the supergalactic center, and the Shapley attractor. And all that means is like they're spiritual megaphones for divine inspiration, soul downloads, visionary leadership. I see you nodding. You're like, yes, 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 I've done
Yeah, I'm
all of
like, I
this.
do receive these. Yes, I
Yes,
didn't know
yeah.
like this galactic astrology is fascinating, but yes, I do have access to the
Yeah.
downloads from there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're literally wired to receive truth from the quantum field and bring
Yes.
it into form. So you have connections to the royal stars. There are four royal stars. You have connections to three of them: Antares, Aldebaran, and Regulus. And so that shows that you have a destiny path that's rooted in courage and mentorship and high integrity leadership. I also have Aldebaran conjunct my ascendant.
I love that.
Yeah, and then you have very significant links to the Orion star system, to Arcturus, which is in the Bootes star system, also to Lyra and Andromeda.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense to me. Okay.
all of this is to say that you are here to heal, to teach, to innovate, and to liberate people.
Hmm.
So you're not here to just do one thing. You're here to weave all of this ancient wisdom together with modern science and sacred healing into something that is uniquely yours. And we're going to talk about this very unique thing that you have created. And most importantly, you're here to remember who you are across lifetimes and dimensions and to help other people do the same thing. Um, so, girl, Galactic Ambassador, hello.
Gosh, hi. I feel like when you just won the lottery, but it's not landing yet. So you're just kind of not like in denial of it, but, or like shock in it. But thank you. Thank you for your gifts of doing this work and for pursuing learning of it and even just taking the time to look at my chart and to give insight in this way. I definitely feel connected to these star seeds like Orion, the Arcturus, Andromeda, and Lyra. Lyra's interesting. I've always wondered like if I was Lyran. They're kind of been more ancient, right? They've been kind of around like longer. Do you want to share
Yeah,
some more about that? Yeah.
Lyra's all over your chart. So,
Yeah.
I'm still studying all of this, but from what I understand, they created the humanoids, right?
Yeah.
We are descended from the Lyrans, and you have Lyra all over your chart. And actually,
Mhm.
I'll give you a little specific. So, actually, your midheaven, which is the work that you do in public in the world,
Mhm. Mhm.
is conjunct the Lyra star system. So that Lyran consciousness is inspiration for you, is connected to the work that you're doing in the world. So if you ever have questions about work, all the stuff that you're doing, know that you can tap into that Lyran consciousness for messages. But you got so many things in this chart. I mean, it's really, really amazing. Yeah, we'll have to do a reading so that we can
I
dive
know. I
deep into
actually,
all of
that's how
this.
I'm feeling. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whoever's listening should also do a reading with you. Like, this is so inspiring in so many ways. So, yeah. And some of the things that you're sharing here are very much what I see my purpose in the world is about. It is about teaching. And kind of when we talked about the Aquarius kind of sometimes having things be a little bit strange and unrelatable, and Aries kind of making it more relatable. I do feel like I have access. I have created entire courses just based on downloads of what I've received and being connected to and able to share. And my students often say to me also that I am able to bring it into a tangible form in which they can then apply and use in their daily life. And I think there is something to that, to what you're speaking about, is like kind of weaving all of this wisdom and knowledge, I've always felt like I kind of came in with it
Yeah,
to begin with, right?
you
And that's
did.
kind of what you're saying. I literally feel like that. I have always felt, even though I've done lots and lots of training, lots of inner work, inherently, I've kept my journals since I was in my 20s. I go back sometimes to them. I was going back to a journal from years ago, just a few weeks ago. And I go back and I'm like, wait a minute. I already knew that. I recently discovered that. And it's like I already knew it before I even started. And it's like some of the things that I'm already been teaching are things that I was speaking about 10 years ago. And so it's just fascinating how much we are energy beings the moment that we're born. Where all the planets, all the energies in our environment and in the galaxies, how much that does influence who we are and what we came here to do. I believe, just like you, that we really chose the moment we're born, that we choose, our parents, that we choose our ethnicity or ancestral lines just to help us fulfill our mission. And yeah, and that's why I always say this path that I'm on chose me. And it's not even a choice. I'm unwavering in it because it just feels like truth of my existence here on the planet this time. So oh my gosh, I feel so grateful knowing this, and I actually can't wait. I'm gonna book a reading with you, and we're gonna discover more of these details.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot, and you'd be surprised. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised because you're deep
Yeah,
in this work, but there's some people that don't have any galactic connections. And
yeah,
there are some people who are in this life, they're just resting, right? They're not healing, they're not breaking ancestral patterns, they're not starting new cycles. So it's rare. It's rare to have an astrology chart that is full of all of these galactic connections. So I'm excited to dive into these with you. We could talk forever. I'm obviously going to
yeah.
have you back on the podcast, but can you tell us about what you're working on now that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm currently creating a online school called the Soul Guiding Institute. And the Soul Guiding Institute is meant to teach the gifts that I believe humanity needs to embody for the future, which are, in my opinion, intuition, energy mastery, and emotional intelligence. I believe we are in a process, as you know, we're in the age of Aquarius, we're birthing the new earth, but we're really in a process of a collective awakening as humanity. And it's not an individualized awakening. Before we would each kind of have our own dark night of the soul and we would just do our inward journey. This is really about the collective experience. And in this lifetime, I've always known that I am here to help us really know what it means to be human in this moment, especially with AI, and there will be, robots, humanoids, there will be moments, and it's not far away that we won't be able to discern without our intuition and our ability to understand energy. We won't be able to discern what is human and what isn't. And so our 3D reality is going to become really strange in some ways. And I know this is my Aquarian side. You're like, we're going like speaking right now. I'm going to make it more tangible. I promise. It's just like I'm like going into this like I am here to save humanity like kind of thing. That's the strange, weird closet Aquarium coming out. But this is actually the truth. I am not joking. This will happen in our lifetimes. We already have like fakes. It's really hard to discern what's true and what isn't. But really, at the end of the day, we don't have to have fear about any of those aspects because all we have to do for ourselves is like learn how to master energy, learn what it is that we actually are. We are not just information. We're not just thoughts. We're not just, we're not just like what we see and what the illusion is. What it actually is to be human is energy that creates. And that is the intention of the school. The school will teach basic things from in the emotional intelligence pillar. It's what are your needs and what are your boundaries and how do you communicate vulnerably? I'm making it more tangible now. My Aries is coming out. And then there's like two arms of the school, like self-study. And then there will be facilitator trainings where you can train to be a soul guide like myself. You can train to be a spirit baby, intuitive, connect to the spirit of children coming in. You can work with individuals and couples in integrative sacred union. You can learn to create your own signature offering. And so there's two arms, basically people who want to learn how to master, become more intuitive, learn the skills that you need to thrive in the future. And then people who actually want to be trained and certified in facilitating and supporting others going through the journey. So that's in the more tangible form what it is, but Yeah, I kind of went on this Aquarian humanitarian, but it's really important to know that at this time. It's really important to know that we are at a place where we are becoming more aware of what it actually is to be a human being, not just what we think it might be. And I want to leave it on a really positive note because we have a lot more gifts and talents than we are even aware of. And I can't wait for humanity to explore that even further.
Vanessa, this is so awesome. I'm so thrilled that you've created this school. I'm totally on board with everything you just said. What people need to navigate these times without fear. And that's actually the low expression of Scorpio, right? Is just
Yep.
being overwhelmed by fear, and everything that you're doing, everything that you're embodying, it's so healed, Scorpio. I love it. Well, it's like you go to the depths, you are obsessed with truth, you empower people to find their truth, to seek truth. Yeah, this is just amazing and gorgeous. Well, so if people want to learn more about you, more about the school, where should they go?
If they want to learn more about me and the way I work with clients, they can go to vanessabenlolo.com. That's my name. And then Soul Guiding Institute isn't up yet. I've been teaching for 3 years, but we're just building the website now. The branding is complete and everything. So they're going to be able to find me on soulguidinginstitute.com when it launches. So there's going to be a spot eventually very soon. Probably by the time you guys are listening to this, it'll be there where you can just kind of put your name in and be notified when it officially launches. So,
I
yes.
love it. All right. Well, so I will make sure to put all of those links in the show notes. This has been a fantastic conversation, my dear. I'm so happy that we've connected. I have one last question for you, and this is what I ask each of my guests on the podcast. What are the new cycles that you're starting in your lineages?
It's a really great question. What is the news cycle? I think just living freely, living like authentically, and that means like authentically expressed, not from a place of pain and wounding and abuse. Because I think that's been very present in my lineage. My Jewish ancestry, there's like, of course, as we know, what took place with that. But then there's also been a lot of trauma, actual physical and emotional trauma on my mother's side in that lineage. And so to be able to live a life where I live freely with ease, I think is the cycle that is starting because of the work that I've done within myself and within my lineage.
Beautiful. I love it. Moon in Aquarius, freedom. Freedom is very important to you. Oh my God. All right. Sis, this has been amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you for saying yes to being in dialogue with me. I'm very serious about having you on again, especially when the Institute opens, launches. Definitely let's have you back here. You can tell us everything and all of the cool things that you do. This has been fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you so much for your gifts and for your energy and creating this space for me to connect with your audience and to connect with yourself and for, yeah, just reading my chart and providing so much insight. And that just felt really validating. And I'm sure others who are listening would really benefit from having you read their charts as well. I think even if I know you said like not everyone has these aspects that were in my chart, but I think sometimes when having a chart read, you can become really aware of what you can do or what needs shifting. And I think even if people aren't aware of exactly what those things are, if they have a willingness to have their chart read by you, I think that can really create a deep shift in their life and in the life of their family. So thank you so much for the work you do. And thank you for having me today on the show as well.
Thank you. I received that. That was beautiful. I appreciate you. Well, everyone, this has been amazing. Thank you for being with us on the Cycle Starters podcast, and we'll see you all next time. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye, Vanessa.
Bye.